guys, and welcome to a new video. I am here to do my July reading wrap-up. I had read 12 books for the month of July, which totals roughly around 2,559 pages, which isn't too bad. It's like kind of around almost an average for me of what I tend to read each month. Most of those were graphic novels, as graphic novels are my jam, and that's how I get most of my reading goals completed, is with graphic novels. But I'm just gonna go over the books that I have read for the month, and yeah, I have my reading spreadsheet here on my laptop, so I'm going to be just going over that. So if I'm looking down a lot, that's because I'm just referencing my reading spreadsheet. So the first book I read in the month of July was Orange, the Complete Collection by Ichigo Takano. This is a romance kind of sci-fi manga that follows some high school students as they have start receiving letters from their future selves, and it kind of follows their journey of them trying to save one of their friends by the notes that they are receiving from their future selves. I really enjoyed it. I gave it a 3.5 star. I do plan on continuing the series, and I even watched the first episode of the anime, and even though I don't watch as much anime as Jordan does, Jordan watches a ton of it. Me and him watched the first episode together. He didn't really care for the anime style in the storyline, but I do, and I do plan on eventually continuing on with the anime series as well. Next is Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I listened to this as an audiobook. I gave it 3.5 stars. This is pretty much almost like a haunted IKEA store, furniture store, and I thought it was pretty interesting. It only took me about 8 hours to listen to, so it wasn't a very long audiobook because I tend to listen to audiobooks on a sped up speed, so it didn't take me very long at all. I'm still kind of on the fence if I'm a fan of Grady Hendrix. I'm just kind of indifferent about his works. I've read, I think this would have been my 3rd or 4th Grady Hendrix novel that was just kind of in the middle ground for me, but it wasn't terrible by anything. I definitely enjoyed it more than I liked Final Girl Support Group, for sure. Next, I read Came the Mirror and Other Tales by Rimuku Takahashi. I gave this 3.5 stars, and this is excuse me, ma'am. Cats. But this is a horror, short story manga collection. It just, it takes different, Japanese horror stories and turns them into the manga media, and it was pretty interesting. It didn't take very long to read whatsoever. I do highly recommend it. I've listened to the Book of Cold Cases by Simone St. James. I gave this 4 stars. This is a crime thriller type of novel that deals with past coming back to haunt characters and stuff like that. I'm sorry if you can hear Mocha. She's got the zoomies this morning. Ma'am, what is wrong with you? Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I really enjoyed the narrators for this audiobook as well, so this is definitely one I highly recommend. I read, let's see, volume 7, 8, and 9 of The Wicked and Divine by Kieran Gillian. I believe that I had completed the series with these, and they were equally like 3.5 stars, it looks like. This is like it follows the like pantheon of gods as they come back as young teenagers for at least 2 years, and once the 2 years is up, the teenagers die and the gods come back like as different teenagers throughout their lifetime. And it has kind of like a crime background to it because one of the main characters who orchestrates all of this is like a bad guy. So it's been pretty interesting. I really love the artwork of this graphic novel series, and I'd be interested in seeing more from this world if they decide to do like a spin-off series or something. I listened to Educated by Tara Westover. I gave this 3.5 stars. This is a memoir about Tara's time from trying to get herself educated when she was raised in a strictly, I believe, Mormon household, and where her father was the main breadwinner and for the longest time, and then just they didn't believe in public education and things like that. So it just follows her time of her actually getting out of that situation and getting herself an education. And I found it really interesting. Listening to the audiobook is listening to memoirs via audio is probably the best way for me to get through memoirs. If it's not like in a graphic novel type setting, it seems I have better time connecting with the author's story and understanding what they went through when I listen to it instead of trying to read it physically. And it took me a while, but I finally read and finished The War of Two Queens by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is book 5, I believe, of the From Blood and Ash series. I gave it 4.5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I'm not too sure if I care too much for the dual perspective of seeing from both Poppy and Castile's point of view this time around, but it definitely like made more sense, honestly, just to see what they both went through during this. I really enjoyed it. I can't wait to see how the series itself kind of plays out. I listened to My Sister the Serial Killer by Akona Braithwaite. I'm probably butchering that name, and I apologize if I am. I gave it 3.5 stars. This is like a kind of like a horror slasher type of book that follows a girl as she's having to kind of clean up her sister's messes whenever she tends to have like a Black Widow situation, which she'll get with a guy, and that guy always ends up being dead somehow. But she's just over there having the best time of her life. Yes, okay. And I read Loveless by Alice Oseman. I gave this 3.5 stars. This was the June pick for the late night bookworming book club. And I enjoyed it pretty well. I think I already said I gave it 3.5 stars. It's a contemporary novel that follows a woman as she discovers that she's asexual in her college years and how she handles discovering that. Let's see. And the last book that I read for the month of July was The Haunting Hour by R.L. Stine. I give this 2.5 stars. It is just a collection of short stories by R.L. Stine that's based off of like the TV show, or like stories that the TV show was based off of or something like that. As in true fashion for R.L. Stine, it tends to be kind of lower range for me, with it being pretty dated of the way he uses like wording, and has kind of a harsh descriptions of characters that are overweight and a lot of fat phobia going on with that. So it definitely just got a 2.5 stars. I don't necessarily recommend the book, but it's kind of middle of the road for R.L. Stine, honestly. But yeah, those are all the books that I read for the month of July, along with Mocha's commentary in the background. Let me know what you guys had read for the month of July in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.